These are Discovery Optics lightweight offset scope mounts. And while many budget accessory companies will put out mounts that look fancy or tactical, let's look past the smoke and mirrors and find out if these scope mounts are any good. This is Discovery Optics' new lightweight scope mounts. And, oh, look at that spelling there. Well, hopefully the scope mounts inside of the box is better than the labeling on the outside of the box. These are 34mm size, by the way, for larger size scope tubes, and the 1.5-inch heights, which are pretty much the standard height for most scope mounts out there. And let's just take a quick look first here. This is really nicely built. And let's see, what else you get in here? You got an Allen key, and this is a Torx style, or star, and there are also some appear to be spare screws. Yeah, and are there any missing ones? No, there aren't. So these are legitimately spare screws should you accidentally lose any of them on the mount itself, and having spare screws is actually a benefit. So let's just take a closer look at this, and I gotta say, these are nicely built. They vaguely remind me of Geisley in terms of the lightning cuts, but they aren't an exact copy. And really, a lot of other scope makers have similar styles, like SIG's scope mounts. But yeah, there's no weird gaps, and the upper and lower seem to match properly, so that's a good sign. And lightning cuts even on the top, and they even include the foot-pounds to put on the screws. And oh, check this out, they label the screws with numbers so that you know, for those of you who don't know, you're supposed to cross tighten these. So you tighten 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's the order you're supposed to tighten scope rings if you have 4. So that's a nice little touch there. And they even tell you how many foot-pounds to tighten the base and the size of the scope ring and the height. You know, this actually is a good thing, because I can't tell you how many times I've pulled an old set of scope rings or a mount out of my spare parts bin and not know exactly, did I pull out a 34 or a 30? And honestly, it's easy to misidentify that. But, that is a nice little touch for those of us who have a lot of spare gear around. So these look pretty legit, I gotta say. Discovery Optics has really been known as a budget scope maker, but they've really stepped up their game, especially with their accessories, and these mounts look pretty legit. And by the way, this also comes in a higher profile. You can see here the difference here. A higher profile version. This is the 1.93 version, and these are becoming much more popular, I think, because special forces are now, the doctrine and the training calls for higher profile mounts for LPVOs. That's so that your head is in a more vertical or a standing position, so you have a much greater field of view as you're looking, and you're not hunched over your rifle, so that you have much better peripheral vision. So they want you to have your heads up rather than heads down in that sort of position. So higher profile seem to be becoming a trend. So I love the fact that they both have them in both styles readily available. And they also come in 30mm as well. So just how light are these lightweight scope mounts? Well, let's compare it to these generic scope mounts, which come in at 6.37 ounces, and these Discovery Optics mounts come in at just under 6 ounces. So let's just compare. You're getting a much beefier, better built mount for less weight. One cool feature I forgot to mention is that these scope rings on the mounts have a indexing pin, and that fits into a hole that's between your screw holes here on your mount, and that precisely aligns the top of your scope ring to the mount without having to rely on the looser tolerance of the screws or the bolts here on the rings. And that is a premium engineering feature found on Discovery Optics mounts and their premium scope rings. Well, these scope mounts look pretty good, but that could just be a nice paint job. How precisely milled are they? Well, we're going to need a specialized tool to help figure that out. Before we get into the tests, I'd like to take a quick break here and talk about this episode's sponsor, Aura. You've seen the news with those massive security breaches at those big companies that have compromised mine and probably your data. And that's why it's important to have personal digital security. And that's why I use Aura. For the price of a typical VPN, not only am I getting VPN service, but I'm getting spam blockers, junk mail blockers. In fact, they're removing my name from those damn broker lists. And they offer a comprehensive suite of services, including fraud alerts, scam alerts, and credit monitoring. Try it out yourself for free. Go to aura.com/moondog and sign up for a 14-day free trial. No commitments. And you're helping support this channel. You know, identity fraud is a real thing, and with AI, it's all too easy to spoof your identity. That's why you should try out Aura. All right, let's get back to the tests. All right, we have our alignment rods here, and this is the 30mm version of this scope mount because I only have the 30mm and 1-inch versions of these alignment rods. One would presume that Discovery Optics uses the same level of quality for the 30 as well as the 34mm mounts. So first we're just going to loosen up the scope rings a little bit to allow space for the rods. There we go. I'm just going to put that in about halfway, and then I'm just going to tighten this down. So you want to try to keep them fairly even on the get-go, and then you can do your torque tightening of those screws once you have that pretty level. All right, and then this side, and you want to get them close but not touching. All right. Wow, okay, these are pretty darn close. Maybe just a hair higher on this side than this side, but that's something that you can definitely fix by lapping this if you're that much of a geek and really need super high precision. But if you're mounting an LPV on here, this is close enough for government work, as they say. And for a practical test, I mounted a new LPVO to my AR and took it out to the range, and it held 0. So there you go. These turned out to be a lot better built than I was expecting. But what were you expecting? Did you think it was going to be as aligned as it was, or were you expecting the test to show that these were total trash? Leave me a comment, let me know. And if you're interested in picking up these Discovery Optics scope mounts, I'll include product links as well as any discount codes in my full write-up at moondogindustries.com. Check out that article, use those links to help support this channel. And another easy way to help support this channel is by simply hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. It just takes a second to click on that subscribe button, and it's absolutely free. And hit that bell icon to be notified when I post my next product review video, which might be a cool optics accessory like this. I want to thank Discovery Optics for sending this out for me to test and evaluate, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Moondog, out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.